I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
The world of NASCAR has seen several eras, even more than the officially recognized two that spanned from 1949 to 1972, and the modern era that we've had since 1972. They're known for the superstar of the time, Petty, Earnhardt, Johnson. But another name was there for all of it, and his narrations on Sunday afternoons turned auto racing from a niche sport of the South to a coast-to-coast juggernaut on par with the established stick-and-ball sports. Kenley Dean Squire was born in Waterbury, Vermont, to a family long entrenched in local radio. His time on the air began at the age of 12, and he was calling local races by the age of 14. Racing was in his blood from the beginning, and he was the founder of the Thunder Road International Speedball, which we need on iRacing, the now closed Catamount Stadium, and the American Canadian Tour for late models. He founded the Motor Racing Network with Bill France in 1970, and that year saw him join the ABC TV crew as pit reporter for the first flag-to-flag broadcast of a race on network television. He would go on to join the CBS booth a year later, and he would remain there for the next 29 years. Ken would coin the slogan, "The Great American Race," for the Daytona 500, which he admittedly stole from our friends down under while covering bodybuilding at the Sydney Opera House. He was the voice of the incredible 1979 Daytona 500. His racing broadcasts were known for a heightened vernacular and exceptional command of metaphor. But he was also beloved in his home state of Vermont, where he was a regular on-air personality on his family's WDEV. He hosted the Saturday music and comedy show Music to Go to the Dump By from 1960 until 2020. Kenley Dean Squire was truly a common man doing an uncommon thing. He will be missed, and we offer our condolences to his family, friends, the WDEV community, and race fans everywhere. Godspeed, Ken. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. As we are absolutely thrilled to have the stars and cars of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship running their Strength of Field race for the week. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth by Mr. Patrick Byrne and Mr. James Watson. And I'll tell you what, guys, the intro started a little heavy, but I am really jacked up for this race here tonight because I personally can't stand the racetrack, but it seems, Bizzle, like every time we show up here, we just get a fantastic show out of these Indy Pro cars.
Yeah, these Indy Pro cars are freaking incredible no matter where you throw them, but Detroit especially. This track is tight. This track is made for American open wheelers, and frankly, I think they're going to put on a great show. A bit slower than their bigger cousins, which means they can race a lot harder and a lot closer in these things.
Yeah, and James, quite frankly, at this point, we're looking at a championship battle that has the potential to just go absolutely ballistic here tonight. Brian Molitor leading the points by 8 over Everett Paddock as qualifications are underway here. Man, this is tight. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth is close. Darren Fahey is close. Carl Lemcool lurks. He has a week not counted yet. Ted Burns has 3 weeks not counted yet. We have no idea what this championship is going to hold in store for us.
Yeah, especially since with next week
being an oval week and it more than likely being on Tuesday of that week with Thanksgiving, you don't really know how many more opportunities you're gonna get for the big points. So you need to maximize what you can get this week because you don't know how the next couple weeks are gonna go.
Yeah, so everybody is out on the speedway right now. 21 cars on the entry list. This is a single split race, but I'll tell you what, the strength of field, 3110. That's a pretty high SOF for one that doesn't split, as Wes Shire goes to the top of the charts, 124.358. This is going to be, quite frankly, interesting to watch because ordinarily you'd think single split, big spread in the talent pool. We don't necessarily have that tonight.
I just want to point out how kind of cool it is that it's just showing a dot for Wes up at the top of the timesheet.
Well,
kind of epic.
It was there for a moment. Ted Burns now moves to the top of the charts, 123.768, bumping teammate Carl Lemkool down to the second position, 124.314. It is a half-second gap for Ted Burns at the top of the board. My goodness. Almost slid that car off into the wall, though, and Bizzle, that's something you really got to be careful with here at Detroit. Even just hitting a bump the wrong way can kick you off into the fence, and there's only several thousand bumps that you have to watch out for.
Yeah, this track is all about getting as close to the walls as possible without actually hitting them. We saw in, I believe it was 99 or 2000, Juan Montoya's qualifying run here, where you can barely see sparks from the rear wing just kissing the wall when he got his pole lap. That is how precise you have to be here at Detroit.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Nicholas Daly now moving to the top of the charts, 123.763. How about 5 1,000ths of a second separating Daly from Ted Burns as Teddy B coming down to the conclusion of his second lap. What's he going to be able to do? He will go... well, let's see. Lap number 2 for Ted Burns, 123.767. That lap does come to a close for Ted Burns, so we'll pick up Nicholas Daly now, who is out on his flyer. Second lap for Daly over the line, and it will be even faster, 123.485. A screamer of a lap for Nicholas Daly. Up by a quarter second over teammate Ted Burns. Everett Paddock working the conclusion of his second lap as Adam Crane in the number 2 moves to the top of the board, 123.367. These guys are flying around this place at the front of the field. Lap number 2 for Everett Paddock, just a tick slower. He will stick with his 123.7. Now following along here with Jeffrey Stanton. Looks like he will be the last car that will get a lap in qualifications. Ryan Cuddy, I believe, will not take a lap, and with only 60 seconds left on the clock, he will not get a chance to get a lap set here. So Jeffrey Stanton, an ace of the Silver Crown world. Well, there you go. Lap is over for Jeffrey Stanton. And it is now time for us to get set to go racing here on the streets of Belle Isle. Show you a little bit about this racetrack here as we wait for everybody to get out onto the grid. 1.6 miles, only 9 turns. Although I don't think that's exactly right. I think the number's more like 14. Dario Franchitti owns the track record here, set in 1997. 1 minute 11.46 seconds. My goodness. That is, quite frankly, just crazy fast. But now field is out onto the racetrack, and it will be the short pace lap. So we're going to blast through the grid for you here. Starting on the pole for the VRS number 2 team out of Canada, it will be Adam Crane. Lining up alongside will be Team Downforce Racing's Nicholas Daly. Road number 2 tonight will have Ted Burns lining up alongside of Everett Paddock. Row 3, the law firm, Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, lining up next to Brian LaBarge. Row number 4, Nagisa Yoshikawa and Jason Miller. Row 5, Carl Lemkool and Wes Shire. Good qualification run there for Shire to put that car inside the top 10. Frisky Frankie, Frank Wynn lining up inside of row number 6, and the AJ Camargo will be to his outside. Following row, we'll have Sam Carasala lining up alongside of Darren Fahey. Simon Fell and Corey Hartz will occupy the 8th row for tonight's race. Row number 9 will have Mike Holler and Tom Pritchard. Jeffrey Stanton and Cole Trexler on row number 10. All alone on row number 11 will be the Will Power Verizon colors of Ryan Cuddy. That's sure to get a rise out of James Watson.
Woo!
Pace car is in. 17 laps the distance here tonight around Detroit, and the field will be under the control of Adam Crane. Green flag goes in the air. We are underway here at Detroit. Crane makes the big sweep up to the outside. Good run for Daly there as well. Trouble for Darren Fahey early in this one. Also looks like possibly for Cole Trexler as well. Oh, and one car going way off the end of the racetrack. That's Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. He hits the runoff at turn number 3.
Dare I say championship implications?
I don't think it's too early for that. Oh, wow, big slide back there. May have been Brian LaBarge. It was interesting, the conversations we were having in the pre-race with these guys. It was kind of like either you love this place or you absolutely hate this place, and there is not a whole lot of in between.
Yeah, it's not exactly an easy circuit, but then again, what street circuit really is. As far as street circuits go, like, it's not as narrow in places as you'd expect, like what you're used to with like a Long Beach, for example. But it's definitely on the more bumpier side, so you have to be careful about that. You have to keep that in mind, especially going over the little hill on the exit of the 1-2 complex. Like, no matter what you're driving, whether it's a PM18 or a Chevrolet Corvette pace car, if you're not careful, that corner will catch you out.
Yeah, good look here at Simon Fell and Mike Holler battling for the 13th position. Jason Miller heading to pit road early. Looks like trouble possibly as well for Cole Trexler. But first, we'll pick up the replay here. We can see what happened to Alexander Wesley Hazelworth, as that was an early issue for one of our championship contenders. Number 5 machine
just missed the braking zone, turned a little bit too late.
Yeah, turned a hair late, and that puts him all the way to the back of the field. Now, we also had an issue on the opening lap for Cole Trexler. Take a look at that one on the NRN replay. Oh, that car just spun all on its own. Kind of noses it into the concrete, and I don't think he hit anything too hard. So now we'll go back to the live look and pick up our race leader. As Ted Burns breathing down his neck, about a half second or so back. Nicholas Daly holding on to the third position. And not really a surprise here, James, but early on in this one, the closest battle we have right now is Sam Carasala and Wes Shire battling for the 9th position, and they're separated by almost a half second.
Yeah, this is because of the lack of straightaways that we compared to most of the schedule. It's definitely not going to be a draft track like what we're used to, and with the tight corners and all the dangerous bumps, you're not really going to be that close to someone. You're really focused more on racing the racetrack, not the other cars.
I mean, yeah, we're seeing that a little bit here with Simon Fell. He now has to contend with Corey Hartz. You kind of end up, this is one of those places where you just end up with everybody on pace. You end up where you kind of should be with regards to everybody else. If you're quicker, you can get a pass made. But you hit a point where you just go, I'm not faster than the guy in front of me, and the guy behind me isn't faster than me. Kind of just hot lapping from that point.
Yeah, just kind of taking care of your car. Like, if you're not going to make any gains or lose any ground, then there's no real point in pumping in the lap times. Just kind of putt around and take care of your equipment and hope that other people around you don't do the same and you get some freebies as the race goes on.
Yeah, you talk about freebies. One of my last PM18 race I did was when we ran here 1 or 2 seasons ago. And I think I started 10th or 11th and ended up in the top 3 purely through attrition. I don't think I naturally passed the car at all during that race. It's just cars in front of me kept hitting the wall and I kept passing them when they were stopped.
Well, it's definitely one of those things that you have to consider, especially as this race goes on. Tire wear is not going to be an issue. Oh, but one car hard into the outside wall. I think that's Brian Labarge. It is trouble for Brian Labarge. Let's take a look here at the NRN replay. Looks like he may have just missed the corner. Hit a bump, car steps out, and that's all it took.
Oh man, then it still wouldn't turn and hits the wall again.
Yep, so Brian Labarge has to take the tow onto pit lane. That one is unfortunate. Let's find our next closest battle here, and it's going to be Wes Shire trying to catch up to Sam Carasala. And actually, I think in terms of conditions, I don't know that it could be more perfect for these guys. 65-degree ambient temperature, 68-degree track temp. Nice and cool. I would imagine maybe a little bit tough to get some temperature in the tires early, but 5 laps into this thing, you kind of got what you got now at this point.
Yeah, and you don't really have to worry about the weather kind of playing tricks on you, making the track a lot slicker and greasier, so you can just kind of focus on being a little more consistent and having a little more car under you to work with.
Logan Kahn checking in a little bit ago here before we got on the air. Good luck to the folks tonight. Out of town for this round, but watching attentively. But he is giving an LFG to Adam Crane, so thank you very much for checking in with us here tonight, Mobin. And everybody else who's watching, make sure you get the comments and the shout-outs in here. We can get those up on the air for you. Shire not making up a ton of ground, and actually I thought we were going to have a little bit of ground being made up at the front of the field. But Ted Burns sitting about 0.6 of a second back. Now we'll pick up the battle between Nagisa Yoshikawa and Carl Lemkool. on board here with Nagisa Yoshikawa. Doing his best to hold off a charging Carl Lemkool. Bit of a scrape there on the wall for Nagisa. You really do have to run this place absolutely on edge. All the way out to the concrete walls, all the way around.
Yeah, it's not a very wide track. This is essentially just a road around a park. This is the Nürburgring in America. Instead of building a road around a castle and racing cars on it, we built a park on a little island in between Detroit and Canada and put a racetrack on it. So not very wide at all. See, just barely scraping the wall there. A little bit of sparks coming out of the left side of Nagisa's car.
So picking up our close battles here, and it looks like it may be the fight for the race lead. Tightening up ever so slightly. Adam Crane holding off Ted Burns. The gap's down to about 0.4 of a second. Teddy B does have the fastest lap of the race at this point.
The variable class of the Titans here.
Yeah, the guys carrying the number 1 and the number 2 are battling at the front. 7,092 iRating for Ted Burns, 59.69. Really nice iRating there for Adam Crane. But as soon as we start talking about them, they decide it's going to be time for the battle to settle back down. So we'll slide back in the field, pick up AJ Camargo and Darren Fahey. These guys separated by about 0.4 of a second for position number 10. Man, you watch these guys hit the curbs in the corner, and it's just like, oh, it makes you nervous because half the time it just spits you into the outside, the opposite side wall.
Yeah, these things don't really take curbs all that great. They're very stiff and rigid. So you really need to be gentle on and forward thinking on how you use the curbs, because it could easily just yeet the car in the other direction, which is not what you want to have happen, putting it lightly in a place like this.
So again, this is the tightest fight that we have. Ted Burns now 1 second back of Adam Crane for the race lead. Nicholas Daly in third is 2.3 seconds behind his teammate. Everett Paddock in fourth, 1.8 seconds back of Nicholas Daly in third. Not much going on here at the front of the field, but this battle's starting to get good here. Fahey making up a bunch of ground on Camargo, and if you were going to get a little bit of a draft, this is where it's going to happen. We'll see if Fahey's going to peek out. He'll stay in line. Turn 3, one of the better passing opportunities.
Little step out into the grass there.
Yeah, a little bit. There's not much grass to hit here on Belle Isle. And oftentimes that's just as dangerous when you hit it.
Yeah, you really have to aim if you're going to go agricultural racing around this track.
Yeah, that's one bit of terminology we could use for it. Oh, Camargo with a big slide. That's going to bring Fahey right up under the attenuator.
These two guys racing from south of the equator. I just,
Yeah, Nietzsche piloting out of Brazil. Darren Fahey out of Australia, I believe it is. possibly some trouble there for Cole Trexler out of position number 16. Thus far, 4 cars out of the race. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth is going to take a bath in terms of the I rating here tonight. Starting in the 5th position, he is off track and out of the race. He will finish in the 21st position. Brian Labarge will finish in 20th. Corey Hart's 19th. Ryan Cuddy in the 18th position. Let's take a look here. Carl Lemkool and Frank Wynn. A little bit of a connection blink there for Lemkool. They're not too far back from Nagisa Yoshikawa either. This is 5th, 6th, and 7th. Battle for the race lead went from 1 second down to about 4.5 tenths. Now it's back up to 7 tenths, even with Ted Burns setting a new fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 23.001. I didn't think you could get one of these cars into the 22s here, but Eddie Burns is about as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, and that's not surprising from him at all.
Yeah, he's quite frankly doing what he has to do here tonight if he wants to have a shot at this championship. The numbers work out a little bit funny because he only has 5 races, 5 weeks counted at this point in the season. Everybody else is counting 6, 7, or 8 weeks. The top 4 all counting 8. Carl Lemkool in the 5th position is counting 7, so he will make some ground up after tonight's race just by adding in another week's worth of points. But we're getting to the point where everybody else is just going to start dropping their worst rounds. Ted Burns is going to be adding them, and if he keeps them as 1st and 2nd place finishes, it may not be Brian Molitor sitting at the top of the points chart for much longer.
Nagisa Yoshikawa starting to run away from Lemkool just a little bit here.
Yeah, the funny thing is, though, is it really only takes one little bit of a bobble and everybody closes right back in. Frank Wynn now within 1/10 of a second of Carl Lemkool. He's going to pull out and make the move. I'll tell you what, that was a great piece of defensive driving there by Carl Lemkool. Forced Frank Wynn to back out of a passing opportunity, absolutely nails the corner, and increased the gap that he was ahead of Frankie. That's a nice piece of driving there.
Yeah, that was textbook how he was able to pull that off. Now he's good to rest for maybe a lap or so.
Now down to 5 laps to go here on the streets of Belle Isle. Adam Crane still holds it. Well, it was an 8/10 of a second lead. Yeah, still hovering right around 8/10 over Ted Burns. Let's move back in the field a little bit. Pick up Jeffrey Stanton and Tom Pritchard battling for the 14th position. Closest fight we have. That's a tough line through turn 1 because it really doesn't set you up well for turn 2. Almost like it gives Stanton a shot at the draft run down into 3.
Yeah, he's looking.
Next time we see Jeffrey Stanton, it'll be on Monday night for the Silver Crowns. One of only 2 races on the schedule for us next week, but it will be at the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. could run horse and buggies around that place, and I would be jacked up to watch that one.
You're not very far from Amish country, are you?
No. About 90 minutes or so.
What? They could be enticed to go run Indy.
Yeah. Why do I have a feeling that's just not in the cards? We got to move up to the front of the field here because, well, see, look, it happens again. As soon as I say the gap's down to 4/10, it opens back up to 6th between Adam Crane and Ted Burns. The gap now down. It's kind of interesting. Almost like one of these guys is better. Each of them are better in different sectors of the circuit. Seems like Adam Crane really able to open the gap up through sector 1. I mean, it jumps right back up to 6/10 out of turn number 2. But the second half of this racetrack, Ted Burns able to close the gap in. The problem is with 3 laps to go, you really don't have much time to let that ebb and flow happen.
No, he might need just maybe not a significant mistake, but maybe just the slightest little slip up from Crane for Teddy to have a chance. Ideally, at this corner, having all that straightaway to make up the ground.
Possibly some trouble here for Mike Holler. Let's take a look at the replay. Oh, just slides it around. What a piece of saving there. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Mike Holler, well done, sir. Lost a little bit of time, but that's about it.
Better lose time than a wing.
Or a toe link, or any of the other bits and pieces that can be so fragile on these race cars. So as it sits, the closest fight on the racetrack is the battle for the race lead. Man, you can see how these cars go over the bumps. You can watch the suspension travel on these cars as they're driving towards you and as you get them looking away as well. Burns has it inside of 0.4 of a second now. I mean, maybe we saw that. I mean, it's almost imperceivable if there was a mistake by Crane. But Burns really turning up the wick now. He's inside of a car length. White flag is out. One more lap to go. Is Ted Burns going to be able to make a move anywhere? I don't think he's close enough to be able to pull a draft down this straightaway. Crane going to try the dragon either way. And could we see lap traffic come into play? It's not too far up the road.
I don't think so.
Gap still now hovering at about 0.6 of a second. Adam Crane doing what he needs to do to hold off, quite frankly, one of the best that this car has. Oh, big dive into the fountain section here for Ted Burns. He's trying to make up ground. Little bit of a slide from Crane. May not make a difference. Oh, big step out for Teddy B. And that will be the end of this thing if Crane can keep that car underneath him. Just a couple of quarters to go. Checkered flag is in the air. Adam Crane picks up the win on Belle Isle. Ted Burns going to come home second. Pick up Nicholas Daly as he comes across the line. He will finish tonight in the third position. Here's to Everett Paddock. And then here's Nagisa Yoshikawa in a hornet's nest with Lempool, Carousel, and Frank Wynn 3 wide over the line.
Goodness.
Wow, what a finish there. Yoshikawa, Lempool, Carousel, and Wynn back to the 8th position. Oh my goodness.
That was crazy.
There is your race winner, Adam Crane. The VRS number 2, a fantastic drive for him tonight. Started on the pole. Ted Burns able to get around teammate Nicholas Daly on lap number 1. But as these guys come around, we'll take a look and show you your race results. Crane, Burns, and Daly make up the podium. Everett Paddock and Nagisa Yoshikawa complete the top 5. 6 through 10, Carl Lemkool, Sam Karasala, Frank Wynn, Wes Shire, and Darren Fahey. Page 2 of the leaderboard sees AJ Camargo, Simon Fell, Mike Holler, Tom Pritchard, Jeffrey Stanton, Jason Miller, Cole Trexler, Ryan Cuddy, Corey Hartz, and Brian Labarge back to position number 20. And Alexander Wesley Hazelworth going out very early on lap number 2. He will finish in the 21st position. So we'll get ourselves ready for the Victory Lane interviews. Do the slow it all the way down thing, and we will bring up our second place finisher here tonight into the booth with us, Mr. Ted Burns. And man alive, I'll tell you what, Ted, a really good battle that you guys had. Ultimately, it seemed like it was one of those deals where you just couldn't get the gap inside of that kind of 4/10 range. What do you think was it a setup thing, or I mean, was it just Adam being just a tiny bit faster on outright pace?
Oh man, yeah, Adam was quick and he drove a flawless race. So first of all, props to him for that. That was intense. But yeah, I think it really came down to there was a little bit of dirty air and it was just so hard to follow, especially in like the key spots where it was to get a run, like especially through the first 2 corners, the right left. I think on like lap 2, I was a bit too close to him, and I slapped the wall hard and got a 2x and thought for sure that my race was done there, but somehow drove out of it. And so after that, it was just trying to be a little careful and get as close as I could, but it was just it was a little hard to get up there and try and stick a nose in. So I was hoping maybe I could stick with him there when I got right on his bumper with 2 to go, right under the gearbox, but I couldn't quite figure out where to make the pass or stick that close to him. It was hard to follow. I mean, he drove a great race. He was super quick. So yeah, it was fun, but man, that was intense.
Yeah, well, and Detroit is one of those places where you're trying to do that game of how do I get closer to him? Where can I make up that 10th on a given lap? But the entire time you have to be concerned about not hitting the curbs, not hitting the bumps wrong. This is kind of a mental gymnastics kind of place as much as it is physical as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's much more mental than anything because it's so easy to overdrive or push the car a little bit too hard in the corner, especially when you're trying to chase a guy like Adam up there. So it was just making sure I kept staying in my head like, okay, back this corner up, make sure I roll the speed, get to power, a little bit sooner, try and get a good exit, and just kept having to roll that through my head, lap after lap. It took me probably 5-6 laps just to get into that kind of rhythm, but then after that it was it was just waiting for him to try and make a mistake, and he didn't really make any. So like I said, he drove a great race, and yeah, I think it was my first race at Detroit with the direct drive setup, and man, it was a workout. I'm thoroughly wet right now.
Oh, you're rocking and rolling out there. Last question for you. Now, we do have the updated points with 6 weeks counted. You're right about 300 points back, but you still have 2 more weeks to get up here on the scoreboard. Do you think you can get to the top of the points table here at the end of this thing?
It's going to be tight. Like I said last week, it all depends on who shows up. And if we got these big, some big fields and some big point races, it's certainly possible to pull off some big ones. There's, history has shown there could be as much as 400 points on offer, so it's not unheard of. But those points are on offer for those competitors as well. So if some of the guys in front of me managed to do well those weeks, make it just a little bit out of touch. So stay optimistic, but just take it 1 week at a time and just do the best I can every race.
Well, yeah, this one was a 31:10 SOF, which is pretty ridiculously high considering it was a single split. So a lot of points gained here tonight. Congratulations on the podium here, Ted. And before we let you go, make sure you get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Yeah, for sure. Got to thank Downforce Racing. We were working hard on the setup, and we rolled out our last change, I think, 7 minutes prior to the green flag. So it was crunch time for us, but we found something that worked, and was able to get us up there and put almost all our cars in the top 6. That was awesome team effort. I got to thank you guys for putting on such an awesome broadcast. I love watching it every week, and thanks for everyone that came out and raced tonight. It was a lot of fun.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here. And now we will bring in our 3rd place finisher tonight, Mr. Nicholas Daly. And let's see. First, we got to get his car up on here anyway. Nicholas, congratulations. Another good podium finish tonight. When you start talking about championship points and all those kind of scenarios and implications, this was a really good points night for you. Congratulations on that. But talk us through the race, because I would imagine this place can be a little bit tough when you have such a big gap. And you're almost basically just hot lapping this place for 17 straight laps.
Yeah, there may not have been any cars super close to me for most of the race, but I was still battling hard. Me versus the track, man. Those walls are so close, and every lap it's another battle. After I clipped the inside of turn 6, I don't know if it was on the broadcast, but I clipped the inside of turn 6 and then hit the outside wall, and I lost like a second and a half. And after that, I was still lapping pretty good. Like Adam wasn't pulling away from me too fast, but it was just he was solid, not making a single mistake. So congrats to him on the win, and congrats to Ted also for keeping up with Adam and putting some pressure on him.
Now this one, I would imagine it can be a little bit difficult to center yourself after a mistake like that, because you really don't have an opportunity to breathe. Maybe between turn 2 and turn 3, but outside of that, you're kind of in full focus mode, 98% of this lap.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can't really back off any either, because then that'll make you get closer to the inside. So you really have to be absolutely on it every corner, every lap.
It was it was an interesting show for us to watch. Thank you very much. We appreciate you and everybody coming out to run in this one tonight. And before we let you go, Nicholas, make sure you get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Yeah, as always, shout out to Downforce Racing, and thank you to Ted for working on the setup. He always comes in last minute with a pretty good setup tweaks, so that's awesome. Thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and thank you to all the viewers for watching.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here now. And now we're going to go find our race winner tonight. A guy who his Discord handle shows up as Vilmacher. Jacques Villeneuve getting himself married in the wedding chapel of the F1 paddock in Vegas. You can't make this shit up. Adam Crane, congratulations. A big race win tonight. That is not easy to try to hold off a guy like Ted Burns. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Ted was a fantastic drive. Kept me honest and couldn't afford many mistakes, and he did a really good job of keeping me on my toes. And I was just telling him that it's not too often that I sweat that much, but he was definitely the first person to do it in a long time. So congrats to him. And yeah, the race, putting it on pole was really important. So I did probably about 25 minutes of cue practice just to make sure that I could put the satellite racing Dr. Dabacar in a good spot. And sure enough, things worked out well.
Yeah. Now, and then at that point, as you're dealing with battling him, lap traffic is starting to show up in front of you a little bit. You're having to contend with how physical the racetrack is. It seemed like both you and Ted are both talking about the physicality of this on those direct drive setups. How much of a difference does that make? And is it even one of those places you go, hey, maybe I'm going to tone my settings down a little bit here because it is so rough?
I actually have to tune my settings up a little bit just because I historically drive the Indy car, or lately it's been in the Cadillac GTP where we're driving in the IMSA Esports series. So for this car, I kind of have to tune it up a little bit, but the direct drive definitely helps quite a bit because of just how little latency there is over the curbs. So you're really able to get a feel for what the car's doing and what the suspension's doing. So in a much more immediate way, you're able to add input to correct the car. That being said, you still have to drive really, really smooth. It's just being able to feel what the suspension in the car is doing that much faster means you're able to react a lot faster. But as you said, it comes kind of at the trade-off of potentially being a little bit more physical. And hey, sometimes you got to work for your wins.
Well, yeah, that's it. You definitely earned the dub here tonight, Adam. Congratulations on the win. This was a fantastic show to watch you and Ted put on up front. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and shout outs in.
Yeah, thanks so much to you guys putting on these broadcasts. I know that it's important for the Indy Pro community and as well just the promotion of stuff on iRacing. Big shout out to Satellite Racing and Dr. Dabber, LS Engineering, More Adness, VRS, and Nemesis Lab, everyone connected with the Satellite Racing team. It's always good to put the Satellite Racing car in victory lane, and tonight was no exception.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us in the booth here for just a couple of minutes. And, man alive, I'll tell you what, guys, here as we go back to the live look, the scenic views of Belle Isle, Detroit. This show was absolutely, I'm going to say interesting. I don't know that I can call it a fantastic show, but I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see Ted Burns gain that ground on Adam Crane. But Adam is one of the best on the iRacing platform, period, James. It's fun to watch. It was intriguing is, I guess, the right word to use.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see what Ted was going to be able to do against him. You know, like I said, it was a clash of the Titans, like two of some of the best you will ever come across on iRacing. And so it was just really cool to just watch a battle like this and watch it play out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And now, Bizzle, we have to turn our attention to next week because it's Oval Week, but these guys don't have nearly as much time to prep for that one. The SOF race is going to be coming up on Tuesday next week due to the Thanksgiving holiday. And to me, that just screams, start logging the oval laps now. Try to get a little bit of draft work in with your teammates. Because as we saw out of the TNT Shock series, that place can be difficult if you're packed up the entire time.
Yeah, it is going to be an incredibly tough race and could see some spice up in the points championship come next week.
Yeah, I mean, Ted Burns talking about the fact that you have 400 plus points on offer potentially, except that's not counting for the oval aces that will be out there next week. And a lot of those guys we saw in the TNT Shock Series, that race had 10 cars that could have won it with just a few minutes left to go. Now we're going to add in the best that the Indy Pro Officials Championship has. It is going to be an absolutely spectacular show coming up next Tuesday night. This will wrap up our broadcast week here on the National Racing Network. As we mentioned, due to the Thanksgiving holiday, it's a little bit of a short week for us next week. Monday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, round 11 of 12 for the Silver Crown Cup here on the iRacing platform, and it will be at the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Somebody's going to get a chance to kiss some bricks after that race on Monday night. Tuesday night, as we just mentioned, it will be the Indy Pro 2000 Championship from Phoenix Raceway. That race will air at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. But with that, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. For Bizzle, James, and everybody here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all on Monday night. Have a great weekend, everybody.